Welcome to Winning Retirement TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. And to our viewers at home, you know a little bit about acronyms when it comes to texting. They're ubiquitous when you think about it. Think about LOL. But did you also know that when it comes to acronyms, they can also be used in investing? We're going to have some fun on today's show. Greg, how are you today?
Doing awesome.
Good.
I'm excited about today's game.
Hey, don't get buzzer happy.
Kristen, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I just love the buzzers. It's so great to see you both, but I'm so excited because this is going to be so much fun. But audience, guess what? I have one too. So this is going to be so much fun. When you think about it, obviously everyone knows LOL.
Right.
Laugh out loud,
Laugh out
right?
loud.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about when you're thinking of investing. I think the first one that really comes to mind for people would be ETFs. Can we talk about what an ETF is?
An exchange traded fund. And, you know, for those who aren't super savvy with investing, an exchange traded fund is very, very similar to a mutual fund. There's many, many investments within one particular fund. And what makes it different is when you decide to sell, okay, for instance, if you sell a mutual fund, you won't know what you receive for that fund until the end of the business day, the trading day.
Okay.
So you get the end of business day value. Whereas if you trade an ETF, it trades at the moment like a stock, and so therefore you know the price at the moment you sell it. Typically, an ETF is a little less expensive, runs a little more efficient, and so therefore, I know in our practice, we typically use ETFs much, much more than we would use a mutual fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the explanation. So audience, Greg and Kristen have no idea that I'm going to be asking them some commonly used acronyms with texting, and I'm going to see if they know what some of these are. So this is going to be fun. I know, because some of them I had to look up to. So.
Oh, boy.
All right. So if you know what one stands for, I want you to be the very first one to tap on your buzzer.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So here we go. Number one, YOLO. YOLO.
I knew this one. What is it?
Oh no.
Do 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 do.
Why am I drawing a blank? I don't remember it.
Okay, we're just going to give a pass to this. You only live once.
Oh, I knew that. Is that one you had to look up?
Yes, I have to be
All right,
honest.
I don't
Okay,
feel too bad.
the next one, RIL.
Boy. Yes, we're bad at these.
Okay, in real life. Okay, here we go. FOMO, FOMO.
You're missing out.
I think you got me on that one.
Yes, I love it. Okay, BRB.
Be right back.
Nice.
All right.
TBH.
To be honest.
Oh, you're on a roll. SMH.
Shaking my head.
Nice.
All right. I'm losing this game badly.
Greg.
Can we play a different game?
GOAT. Goat.
I'll give you
Greatest
that
of
one.
all time.
I gave it to him. I knew it fast.
Right here. Yes.
Audience, should we keep going? These are fun. Okay, WIP. WIP. I know.
I don't know that
I had
one.
to look this one up too. Work in progress.
Oh, yeah. You know, that's the thing. These kids, they text things that you could just talk out really quickly and not have to have them abbreviated. The boys do this to me all the time. They'll text
Yes.
me, and I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't know what that means.
The problem
Yeah,
is
yeah.
by the time we catch on, they're already past it. Like
Yeah.
now, we don't do
Yeah,
that.
it's not cool anymore. Don't say that. Yeah.
Well, let's do one more. TYVM.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Yes.
I'll give you that. I'll give you props
right.
for that one.
All right, so
And here's your
let's
prop
go
back.
into a little bit about, we did the social acronyms, there's the word, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some commonly used acronyms when it comes to investing. And I'm sure that you talk about these things every day, but to our viewers at home, they may not know what they are. What about FRA?
Ooh, FRA, full retirement age. That's a Social Security term.
All right.
So with Social Security, you have the earliest that you can file, unless you're a widow, and that is age 62.
Okay.
You have the maximum that you can receive from Social Security at the delayed age of age 70. And then for most people right now that are retiring, they're getting close to that, where 67 is the full retirement age. Some people might be 66 in 8 months. Some could be 66 in 10 months. But most people are going to be looking at age 67 as full retirement age. And that's when you can receive your full retirement benefits from Social Security. And there's another caveat. Once you're that age, you can make any additional income you want from a job and not lose any of your benefits.
Okay.
So prior to 67 or prior to full retirement age, then you have a limit. It's a little over $22,000 right now. You can earn, if you earn more than that, for every $2 you earn, you have to give $1 back.
Ooh.
So you don't want to, you make sure you understand those things. So that can really impact when someone wants to claim their Social Security benefits.
Makes perfect sense. And you can still press your buzzers too.
Okay.
Yay!
All right.
All right, this next one, not speaking of soda or pop, but cola. What is cola?
All right.
Yay!
Yes. Cost of
No more
living
buzzers.
adjustment.
I
It
still
gives
have
me
mine.
anxiety. I'm like,
Taking my
sorry.
fun away.
Okay.
So cost of living adjustment, that is, especially if you have a pension that has a COLA, cost of living adjustment, then that pension typically would go up many times based on the consumer price index, and maybe 2% a year, 3% a year, something like that. So that is a cost of living adjustment. In other words, you get more.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. What about RMDs?
Required minimum
You didn't use
distribution.
your buzzer.
I had to get it out before
it's
you.
like class. You got to raise your hand first. You got to.
I pushed you first,
all
so
right.
that's you're my buzzer. So required minimum distribution, and that's the dollars that are required to take out at age 73 at this point, and in 2033 it'll be 75. So what we find interesting is a lot of people, when they get to that age, they don't really want to take that money out. And the reason is because these are tax-deferred dollars that have been growing and doing what they do throughout their years of working and maybe into their retirement. And now at this point, the government is requiring that you take a distribution out of those dollars.
Okay.
And that distribution is taxable. So that's why a lot of people don't want to take it, because they don't want to have to owe the tax.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kristen. All right. This next one, REIT.
All right.
Greg?
REIT, which stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. So it's an investment that invests predominantly in real estate.
Okay.
And one of the things to know about those, typically they're not fully liquid when you invest in them. There's typically a time frame, maybe 5 or 6 years, before you can liquidate your investment and get your money back.
All right. Greg, thank you. Next one. Here we go. QCD.
That is, I'm not buzzing. I'll buzz. Fine, I'll play along.
All right.
It's a qualified charitable distribution. So what's nice about a QCD, it kind of goes along with the RMD, the required minimum distribution, and that you're able to directly give your required minimum distribution to a charity.
Okay.
And you save on the tax by doing that. So there's some rules involved. It's fairly easy, but you have to follow the rules. In a lot of cases, you have to get the charity's acceptance letter in advance. You can't just write the check and send it off to the charity. They need to know it's coming. They need to apply it. But if you follow the rules, you do a one-time distribution, you're able to send that directly, bypass your financials and send it directly to the charity instead of taking that distribution for yourself. So it's nice for people who are charitable minded. We just recently met with a single woman who did that for the first time this past year with her required minimum distribution. And she was just, I mean, all smiles and just so excited about giving this, in her case, $50,000 to the charity of her choice. And she's looking forward to doing it again next year. So it's a really nice way to use those dollars that maybe if you don't need them, you're able to save on taxes in the meantime.
And I love how you explain that, because I thought you were going to say write that check willy-nilly like you always say.
Yeah.
I love when you say
Yes.
willy-nilly. And I think we have time for one more. IRMA, IRMAA. What is IRMA?
So,
I was just giving it
There's
to you back
power
and
with
forth.
buzzer.
so IRMA is the sneaky tax.
Ooh, okay.
And so it's sneaky because people aren't always aware of it. And it's not even called a tax. It's called an additional premium, and it happens on your Medicare Part B and Part D. And with that, if you're a single person with income over $103,000 or a couple with income over $206,000 and you're on Medicare, it can cause your Medicare Part B or Part D premiums to increase. So it's not called a tax, but since it's based on income and it costs you more money, I call it a tax.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I think we have to take our first commercial break.
Yes.
But this has been so much fun. To our viewers at home, we've been talking a lot about acronyms today. Obviously, we started with social, emotional acronyms, if you will, and then we went into investment. But your retirement years shouldn't be confusing. Some of the acronyms are confusing. We want you to have peace of mind and to understand what your retirement plan should look like. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean grabbing a statement out of the mail and having a plan written on a piece of paper. That's just part of your plan. You want a holistic, all-encompassing retirement plan. What Greg and Kristen are offering you today is just that. Complimentary consultation. All you have to do is call in 614-336-7660. Or if you're running out the door and you don't have a pen handy, grab your smartphone. Click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That'll take you right to the landing page for Legacy Retirement Group, and you can claim your spot accordingly. Remember, retirement shouldn't be confusing. We already know that some of these acronyms are, but let's have peace of mind in your retirement years. We'll be right back.
Living a life is building a legacy. A legacy of milestones, your first home, raising your children, becoming grandparents, and memories. From the first steps across the living room floor to the walk down the aisle, at every stage, your family is the most important part of your life, and you want to protect them now and in the future. Which is why the decisions you make today are so important. You've worked hard to provide a better life for your loved ones. Now is the time to make sure that lasts. Build a legacy that will influence generations to come. Plan smart. Retire well with Legacy Retirement Group.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement Television. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group, and we're talking all about your retirement plan and how it should be simple and easy to understand. Well, there's a lot of myths and assumptions in retirement, so I thought we'd keep going with the buzzer game, if you don't mind. I'm going to list a few.
Take it from him. You know, he likes buzzers now because Kristen Charles, who does our radio show and podcast production and co-hosts
She's amazing.
those shows with us, she's amazing.
I love her.
I loved her. I thought she was my sister. I thought we were, gal pals like you and I are.
Totally.
She created one of these that when he pushes it, it says, "You're right, Greg."
And it's her
in
voice.
my voice.
Oh.
Yes, she stole my voice off of radio
But you
and
said-
made a buzzer.
You said you're right, Greg. It just so happens that I'm always right now.
Oh my goodness, I love this. Okay, so here's a lot of common retiring assumptions, if you will. First one, Medicare will cover your health care costs in retirement.
Now that is bum, bum, bum,
Does it light up in the front?
So
Yeah.
Medicare does cover, and I don't want to beat up on Medicare. Medicare does cover a lot. But you have a Medicare Part A deductible, Part A, hospitalization, Part B, medical, Part D, prescription. So Medicare A, B, D, right? Part C is the Advantage plan, which is separate, okay? So A, hospital, B, medical, like your doctor's visits, D, prescription drugs. Now, for Part A, the deductible this year is, I believe it's $1,676 before Medicare will start to pay. And the Part B is, I believe, $276 this year.
Okay.
So before Medicare will begin to pay. Then on the medical side, in hospitalization, they do a really good job, say the first 60 days of hospitalization. And, unless something's really, really bad, you don't stay in the hospital for 60 days. They do a good job of that part. The Part B, it's 80-20.
Okay.
80% covered by Medicare, 20% that you pay out of pocket. Now, this is one that we find that people misunderstand quite a bit, and that is when it comes to a long-term care type of situation
Yeah.
with your health care.
Okay.
Medicare only pays for what we would call skilled care.
Okay.
That means that you're expected to rehabilitate. That's what skilled care means. They're going to rehab you to get you back to good health. So if it's more of a long-lasting thing, that tends to be more of what they would call custodial care. Medicare doesn't cover that at all.
Okay.
Something interesting, though, and a lot of people don't know this, is in order to qualify for skilled care, you have to spend 3 days in the hospital prior to receiving the skilled care. Otherwise, Medicare doesn't cover it. So they'll cover the first 20 days 100% when they do cover it, and the days 21 to 100, there's a deductible.
Okay.
So that's what Medicare does and doesn't cover in general.
Okay.
So being aware of what they do and do not cover is important. So you know,
Absolutely.
should I get a supplement
Well,
to my Medicare, things
Well,
like that?
Yeah, not only that, but it helps you understand what other planning you need to put in place so that
Yes.
you're ready for those expenses. I mean,
Right.
that is one of the biggest things we see with families, isn't it?
Yes, because it's surveys have said that not including a long-term nursing home type stay, during our lifetimes, the average couple will spend over $200,000 on their health care
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
That
between
is
premiums
staggering.
and prescription drugs and copays and so on. So yeah, so people need to be aware of that, and there is planning you can do. There's things you can do about it, but you need to know and you need to be prepared.
I thought when you were going to say surveys say that you were going to do that. Remember, because it's survey saying.
Survey said, yes.
We love,
I love
that
it.
show.
It's so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, another retirement assumption would be you can't retire without $1 million.
Meh. I'll do the buzzer for that because, you know, when Cameron was little, he used to say, I'll do it however I want to do it. And he said in his cute little voice, you remember that?
Yes.
So the joke in our house is we'll say that. You can do retirement however you want to do it. It's just a matter of what your goals are and if it's a realistic expectation for what you're trying to do against what you've saved. Because we meet with families all the time that haven't saved a whole lot in their nest egg, but
Right.
they have an incredible pension still. You know, there are still some folks out there, and they're almost ashamed. It's a vulnerable exercise to come in and share what it is you've done with your life financially. I mean, that is just something that is very vulnerable for people,
Of
and we don't take
course.
that lightly. So when you're doing that and you're going into it, you just have to understand you have to be reasonable. It has to make sense for what you've saved. So if you saved over $1 million and you need to live off of, you need an additional $30,000 in supplemental income, that's probably going to be realistic. Now, if you have saved $1 million and you need $100 and some thousand, then, you know, we might have some conversations about what
Yes.
that budget actually looks like and what is a realistic thing to do. Maybe you need to work a few more years
Okay.
and not retire yet. I was trying to say two words there at the same time. So maybe you need to work a little bit longer and then really focus on saving an additional pile of money so that you can retire in the way that you want to. So those conversations are different for every family. I hate those broad brush statements.
Yes, I agree.
Yes,
I agree.
but you said something really important there that I think people need to realize is that, you know, I feel like sometimes people don't reach out, they don't schedule a meeting, they don't call, they don't go to the website because of fear of judgment,
Yes. Yes.
you know, or comparison.
Yeah.
But I can truly say for us and our team, what's really important is can we get you from where you are to where you want to be? And in some cases, people have saved plenty, and really that's the validation that most families are
Right.
looking for.
Yes.
Here's where I am, here's where I want to be. Is that feasible? Is that realistic? And I think it's important for people to know one way or the other if it is realistic, if it is
Absolutely.
feasible, and not from a judgment standpoint, but more of, okay, there have been a few times that we've had to say, you know, it'd probably be better if instead of retiring in a year that maybe you work 3 or 4 more years. I think that would be a better plan for you just because there's not quite enough resources there just yet to get from where you are to where you want to be. Many times, though, it's a validation. I think of a couple that Brent, one of our advisors, met with, and he said that, they had saved about $500,000 and they weren't sure. And he took them through a plan to where they could have enough income, they had enough money for growth, and they could feel secure.
Greg, thank you so much. Kristen, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, are you wondering right now where you are on this path for retirement? Do you know that if you've saved enough, or perhaps you're a little embarrassed to speak to someone because you've made some mistakes in the past financially? Well, as Greg and Kristen just mentioned, that happens to everyone. We all get derailed from time to time. When you're talking about your retirement years, you deserve to have peace of mind. You deserve to have a plan for your retirement. And if you're not on the right path, wouldn't you want to know that today? No judgments whatsoever. Once again, no obligations whatsoever. Just call in 614-336-7660. You can schedule your time accordingly. You deserve it. You've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years. You deserve to have peace of mind. If you have a smartphone handy, you can grab that. Click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That takes you right to the landing page, of course, for Legacy Retirement Group, and you can claim your time accordingly. Remember, you deserve to have peace of mind in your retirement. And how do you get there? You need to have a plan. We'll be right back momentarily. Don't go anywhere.
Have you been wondering if a Roth conversion is a good idea? Do you feel a lack of confidence in Washington when it comes to future taxes during your retirement years? You should probably visit testmyretirement.com. It's Legacy Retirement Group's latest no-cost resource for soon-to-be and current retirees. Testmyretirement.com is super simple to navigate. After clicking on Learn More, you'll fill in a few pieces of information, and within 30 seconds, you'll see a personalized analysis of your total potential taxes in retirement using your existing approach, compared to what's possible with some adjustments. Every situation is different, but if you don't want to be in debt to Uncle Sam, go to testmyretirement.com to find out if you can possibly reduce your future retirement obligations. Get started now at testmyretirement.com.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement Television. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group, and we're talking all about how to plan your peaceful retirement years. Now, this is very interesting. This is actually a study that was done by Beyond Finance. It was a survey, if you will, and as much as 43% of their respondents could not properly explain what a 401k is. Could you give the basics to the viewers at home and explain what exactly is a 401k, Kristen?
Yeah, a lot of these surveys that we find, I would be interested to hear the explanations, because I think this number may be skewed a little bit. I think so many people don't understand how their 401k is invested. But understanding exactly what it is very simple. We can make an easy button up here. It's a tax-deferred employer-sponsored plan. And in some cases, the employer will match up to a certain amount, sometimes up to a certain percentage, and then the employee has up to a certain percentage to contribute additional to that. And then there's also the Roth 401k, which we've talked about the Roth for years now on TV, and it's very similar to the Roth IRA in that you pay the tax up front, it gets the grow tax-free. So there's two different versions, but then within a 401k, there's so many different options, so many different nuances between the matches and the available investable strategies within them.
Thank you, Kristen. And what about a Roth 401k? Let's talk about that, Greg.
Well, you know me, I love to talk about the Roth, but
yes.
You know, in most cases, we'll encourage people to invest into the Roth 401k. You pay the tax up front, it goes into your Roth 401k, it grows tax-free. Later on, everything that comes out is tax-free, and I like that idea. But now we've disinherited Uncle Sam.
Yes.
Which I love that part.
Yes.
You know, one of the reasons that people come to us a lot of times, Cynthia, after watching the show or listening to our radio show is because within a 401k, we don't typically get a lot of help as to how to invest.
Right.
Not always, but many times there's very few investment options. What you find mostly is what you would call a target date fund, like a 2025 fund, a 2030 fund, a 2035 fund, and so on. Those are what are called target date funds. And when you invest in a target date fund, the majority of folks investing have no idea what they're even investing in. So a lot of times folks will come in to do a portfolio x-ray, a 401k x-ray, if you would, for us to look at that and help them decipher, first of all, what it is they have inside of that 401k. And secondly, are there some changes or adjustments needed? I know we had someone call a few weeks ago. They had saved a little over $600,000 in their 401k. And what we discovered was they were in a like I think it was 2040 or 2045 target date fund. A lot of risk involved, wasn't really efficient. And we were able to help them do two things because they wanted to retire in a year. They were over 59 and a half, so they had the ability to roll that over to an IRA and get help.
Okay.
So we put roughly of the 600,000, we put about 375,000 into their income plan for 30,000 per year they're going to need as extra income in retirement. We put 225,000 in their growth plan to allow them to grow over time to keep pace with inflation and things like that for emergencies that would come along. And so those were the things that they had in place. Those are the things that we did. It was simply not just a 401k or an IRA, but it was now taking that from an account to a plan.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. Question I have is, how much do we really need in our 401ks to retire comfortably? That's a hard question. How much do we really need?
It's the question that so many are wondering. I mean,
Right?
we even talked about it on the last segment. You know, do I need $1 million? Do I need $2 million? What is that magic number? And it's so dependent on all the factors within what you want to do in your retirement, how much income you need, because that's different. Have you ever gotten a call from a utility company and they say, I'm going to save you $50 a month on your electric bill or gas bill?
Yes.
You know what my response always is?
No.
Well, how do you know what I already pay on my bill? Because they don't have access, at least they used to not have access. They don't have access to it. So for us to say, well, you need X dollar amount is such a broad statement. We can't say that without understanding your expenses because that number is so different for so many families.
That's true.
It is,
That's
because
true.
I just talked about a family that 600,000 was enough. That's what they had saved, and it happened to be enough for what they needed. But I worked with a couple about 3 months ago that they'd saved $1.8 million a year. They're going to retire in 3 years. And in order to maintain their lifestyle, they needed an additional $90,000 a year. Well, if they had only saved $600,000, in their case, that would not have been enough. We were able to protect for income, the $90,000, $1.1 million went into the income plan, which will generate that $90,000 a year. That left about $700,000 for growth. So we took that 401k from just an account, again, to a plan.
Wow. Greg, thank you so much. Kristen, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us today. If you are looking for a portfolio x-ray just to make sure that you're not taking too much risk and that your investments are going to be secure in retirement, this is the perfect opportunity to call in 614-336-7660 or snap the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today. Take care now.